the message center issues that have been going on over the last 2 weeks, and then we'll go into some of the roadmap changes. So we'll look at what's currently been launched in the last 2 weeks, what's gone into the rolling out status, and what's gone into in development. So the intention here, as usual, is to try and keep you up to date with what's changing in the Office 365 platform, so you can stay better informed and also inform your customers and your users about what's changed on the platform. So hopefully you don't come across any surprises. So first thing we'll do, we'll just go and have a look at a bit of news. In fact, what I want to do first is I just want to talk a little bit about our own website. So if I just switch over to screen share, just some changes that we as a business have been putting in. So if I just come to our own website here. Didn't prepare this bit before, so bear with me a second. So we're just changing the way that we work a little bit here in RedPlane, just to put more focus on Power Apps and Flow development as well as traditional development we do, but also to announce that we've got a couple of products going live now. The first one is up is a Canteen menu Power App. So if you go into the website for the next few days, this is actually going to be free to download, and then the price will go up £10 every 5 days. Until it reaches its final price. So if you want to go and get this Power App for free, then please go to redplane.co.uk into the products, and then you can actually go and purchase this for free using this Canteen 100 code at the moment. Then in a few days that will go up, let's say £10 every 5 days. So we've got more of these in the pipeline as well, so I'm looking forward to getting these rolled out, but hopefully we can start to consumerize some of the Power Apps that we've been building for customers. So please feel free to go and check that out. It is free, so what's not to like about that? Okay. So jumping into some of the news, I'm just going to have a quick look at what's new to Microsoft 365. This is through August. We haven't had a September's blog post out yet, but let's see what's been coming through. So Excel's getting some new features in here. So I quite like this one. I do a lot of Excel work. So it's getting the ability to do an X lookup. This is a successor to VLOOKUP. Basically what it means, we can actually very simply go and find items from a table based on a search. So if we just do the little animated GIF here, VLOOKUP, select the country column and the prefix column, we can very easily just do a lookup against that table. I think that's going to be really useful. Create work in progress diagrams and slides. I quite like this one actually. So if we go into Office apps such as PowerPoint, then we can actually create our standard shapes, squares, rectangles, circles, things like that. But we can actually apply a sketch view to it, so we can make it look more like an in-progress wireframe, which a lot of us are quite used to. I use balsamic mockups quite a lot, and that puts them in this kind of sketch style as well. So just so it looks a little bit more of an idea and a wireframe concept. So that'd be quite useful for people in my area who does these designs. PowerPoint on the web is getting the ability to do subscript and superscript, and also ability to change case. So if people are creating formulas and scientific presentations, then it's a lot easier to show them in PowerPoint web. So that's quite nice. Also, OneNote for iPad is getting the ability to create shapes and graphs and Outlook meetings in there. So if people don't want to just finger draw everything, then we can actually put some basic shapes in for annotations and diagrams. OneNote for iPhone is getting the ability for ink capability, so we can actually just finger annotate our OneNotes now. That's really useful. Yammer's getting an enhanced mobile experience, so it's just been brought more and more into the Office world, so it's going to look more like Office apps as well. A bunch of other updates and enhancements there. And dark mode is coming to more Microsoft apps, so everywhere I look I seem to be seeing people releasing dark mode for their applications. So common Office applications are now going to get a dark mode, so this is really useful if you're in a darker environment, or if you're on an aeroplane somewhere where you don't want the bright white view showing up and disturbing other people. So that's quite good. It saves battery as well. A screen to actually light up. So dark mode's coming across most of the Office applications. Fast Track's got some new guidance to make it easier to migrate to Windows 10. If there's administrators out there, hopefully that's something that will be of interest to you. And new data center capabilities. So Microsoft's been rolling out more data centers, and there's additional multi-geo capabilities available for users in South Africa and UAE. So that's really useful as well. Okay, that's the big M365 stuff going on at the moment. There's a couple of Power Apps updates as well. I quite like this one. Power Apps is getting a new function called Set Focus. What this means, we can actually set focus on maybe a form input when we open up a window. So if you're doing a form, you can set the focus to the initial text box that you want to be displayed. And then, for example, here, if the user ticks to use a different billing address, we can have a formula that automatically sets the focus on the name field when that gets enabled. So that's going to be really useful just to make user experience a little bit easier. So let's just look at some other updates for Power Apps from the Power Apps blog. So Power Apps Guest Access is coming. So this is going to be really, really useful. A lot of people have been asking for this for a long time. So we're going to be able to enable guests in our Office 365 tenants to view our Power Apps. This is going to be really, really good for sort of cross-organization teams. I'm quite excited to see that come through. Building with components. Now we've had components in preview for a while. I think this means components is going general availability. It still shows up as an experimental feature in my tenant, but components are driving forward. There's also a nice components gallery available as well, so it's worth having a little browse through to see what components people have been publishing, such as Google Maps controls, QR code generators, calendar controls, radial gauge controls, things like that, color pickers, that kind of stuff. So there's some really good components coming in to this gallery in the moment. So it's worth having a look at what's in here before you're going to start building everything for yourself. Always better to reuse than rebuild. And then just some more of the general updates. So I'll go over these items as they come through as normal, but if you are interested, then there is a page here, what's new and planned for Microsoft Power Apps, and then this just runs through the timeline when these features are due to be released. So if you want to keep on top of it, then we can look at this this page as well. So that's available for you. But most of these updates should come through my bi-weekly updates as well. So hopefully we'll cover most of these off so they become apparent. Microsoft's also announced yesterday the general availability of the new model-driven form designer. So anyone who's doing model-driven apps, those are the rich people in the world, then the form designer is gone into general availability. There's quite a few updates in here as well. So a few updates. So add components to a field. We can add configure a subgrid component now onto a field. We can add and configure a quick view component, configure a lookup component on the field. This is quite useful as well, so we can create a new field on an entity whilst we're editing the form, so we don't need to keep going back out of the form to add entities. We can do it right while we're in the editing experience, and a couple of other things. So there you go. So those people are doing model-driven apps, some nice little updates for you. Okay, so they're the big highlight items that have been coming through over the last couple of weeks. So let's just jump into some of the message center items that have been through my tenant. Now, please remember, these are the items in my tenant, so I might be in a different farm to you, so you may see slightly different things, but it gives you a awareness of what's going on in the environment at the moment. So if we start with, there's 2 current incidents at the moment in my tenant. So at the moment, there is service degradation for the Office 365 portal, where admins may notice that Office activation reports contain incomplete data since September the 4th. So they might not have full data in there. Exchange Online, at the moment, since 9 PM yesterday, users have been unable to perform searches using multiple Exchange Online protocols. So your email search may not be working in the way that you expect. So if you're getting support calls on that, then you know it's a platform problem and not an issue with yourselves. So you're empowered there. Okay, so 18 items were closed in the last two weeks. So here's some of the incidents that have happened that have been resolved. So search and offline availability option was unavailable in the SharePoint Online Admin Center. We actually covered this one last week as well. So this has been going on for a while, since the 2nd of August until the 26th of August. So that's been a bit of an ongoing issue. If you've seen that, I know we've certainly noticed that ourselves. There's some problems uploading Office videos. This was about 5 days. So users may have noticed that their videos remained in a processing state after initiating a video upload. There's an inability to upload Message Center posts. So that's a bit of a problem, because if you have a problem with the platform, where do you go to look at Message Center? So you can't hope that that carries on working. Fortunately, we can cover the items if you can't see them. That was only ongoing for about 2 hours, so it wasn't. What else have we got? So preview pane. So the SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business preview window was missing the next and previous buttons. 8 days to fix that. Can't access some Office Online applications. So again, for a period of time, for a few hours, users may have been unable to access OneNote through the Office Online service. The Admin Center was temporarily unavailable for about an hour. There was limited functionality in the admin panel. This is the following day, so I assume there's been some back-end changes going on in the admin portal. Exchange, users may have experienced intermittent connection failures when accessing their mailboxes. That one, yeah, only a couple of hours. And there's some latency on the Service Health dashboard as well, so we may have seen some slow load times on the Service Health dashboard. About a day that went on. This one's a false positive, so it's something that was reported but wasn't actually an issue. But apparently some users had reported they were unable to send and receive messages in Microsoft Teams. Can't view public switched telephone network reports, so admins may have been unable to view the usage reports. We covered a few telephony issues last week. No new ones have come through this time round, so I assume that's mainly been fixed. But here on the reporting side of it, there was a small outage. Again, only a couple of hours. We'll be fixing these pretty quick. Email messages being marked as spam. I noticed this one. So for about a day, the end of 30th of August, users were experiencing legitimate inbound and outbound emails being marked as spam. I certainly noticed this on this day as well, where a lot of my emails went into spam. There was an issue then for over a day actually, where users were unable to copy or move documents using that functionality within SharePoint Online. Email messages stuck in the junk folder, yeah, same thing, we just covered that one. Problem with Windows information protection, so users may have been unable to register new devices into Windows information protection in Intune. Getting about 6-7 hours there. Users were unable to accept meetings in Outlook on the web. So again, what's this about? A few hours on the 3rd of September, some users may have been unable to accept meetings in Outlook on the web, so you may have had some support on that. Delayed admin snapshot reports, so some admins may have received delayed snapshot reports. And there's an inability to access the Microsoft Teams Admin Center. Again, a few hours, about 5 hours there. Okay, so that's all the issues that were closed off. Awareness, I'm not going to go through as usual. I think what I'm going to do in the future is I'll mark some of these as key items to just reduce that number down a bit, so we can work through some of these. A lot of them are repeated. Okay, so that's all the Message Center incidents. So it'd be interesting if you noticed any of those over the last couple of weeks, if they affected you. So we could just run into the roadmap. So let's actually look now at what items have been cancelled on the rollout to Office 365, what have launched, so anything that's in the launch status should now be visible in your tenants across the board. Rolling out, that means you may be starting to see these appear in your tenant over the next 3 months. and then the items that have gone into development, so we get a bit of a longer term view of what's changing in the platform. So 2 items were cancelled. So hybrid auditing in SharePoint Online for SharePoint Server 2016. That's been cancelled. That's a feature that was never released out of preview, and it's going to go out of support soon. So that's not going to go to general availability if that's something you're using. And then Outlook Calendar new APIs. This isn't actually cancelled. This has just been replaced by a new roadmap item. So we don't really need to pay too much. So what has fully launched? So we should have seen most of these in the rolling out phase last time, but these ones should now be available across the board. So the My Analytics dashboard should now be available to more Office 365, Microsoft 365 suites. So anyone on an E-plan or a business premium, business essentials plan should now have access to the My Analytics dashboard. If you haven't tried that yet, use it. It's really, really cool. It gives you good insight into what time you're spending on different aspects of the platform. So find out if we are truly wasting time in email or not. Okay, so Microsoft Teams, you can use a link or a code to join a team in Office 365 Government DoD. So most of us have probably seen this for a while, but the government tenants are getting that ability now. There's a new option on the Office 365 and Azure AD login screen. So we're going to get a new option, or we should now have a new option that gives us a link that says more sign-in options. I've certainly noticed this one. This is really useful for when we're switching between sign-in options on different products and tenants. Microsoft bookings, so we can specify in the booking page and select when the booking page, when the booking page is when it's indexed by search engines. Okay, default behavior stays the same for pages. They'll be indexed by default, but we can turn that off. The new Outlook on the web experience is getting a tasks pane. What this means is you can just drag emails into the task pane to create a task out of it, and you can also manage your tasks in that pane, or open it in the calendar, or open it in Calendar and drag and drop a task into the calendar to create an event. So just making it a lot easier to manage all of our productivity tasks in Outlook on the web. We have the ability now to save and use custom page designs. So think of these as modern SharePoint page templates. So if you create a page template for a blog or a news item, then we can actually save this as a page design, and that can be reused across the organization. That's really, really useful. I'm quite happy to see that one come through now. Shifts, so first one, workforce is getting the ability to clock in and out of their shifts and breaks from the mobile device. And also, this is quite nice, you can also set up the clock in and out using a geofence location. So as soon as somebody walks into that area, they're automatically clocked in and out, that's great. I love the fact we can simplify these processes and take the manual elements out of it. Organizational assets, this is a really cool one as well. So the ability to create essentially our own stock library here, so we can create a centralized curated view of digital images for reuse in page authoring. So if we have standard imagery that we like to use across the business, then we can actually store them centrally, and then page authors can post. That's going to be really useful. Office 365 DLP gets support for exact data match classification. Intune support for managed home screen app on kiosks. So if you are running kiosks, then you can actually create a managed home screen for that to restrict what users can access on a kiosk situation. Microsoft bookings, we can actually now customize the email confirmation, so we can add URLs and rich text into those confirmation emails. So that's going to be really, really useful for a lot of people. Outlook for Windows, we can set and share our focused inbox preference. So if we set that preference in Outlook for Windows, then that will synchronize in the cloud across all of our web Outlook instances and Outlook on different computers. Outlook for Android, getting the ability to sync the local calendar with Outlook. Find Time, support for more languages. Now, I didn't actually know what Find Time was until I saw this, and I went and had a look, and this is actually really quite useful. I think I'm going to start using. The Find Time basically allows us to match available times across organisation. If I'm trying to find a suitable time for myself and a customer to go and have a meeting, if we're both registered with Find Time, then I can more easily just see when both of us have availability rather than going back and forth on email trying to find a suitable time. So that's really useful. I'm going to start using that quite a bit. Outlook on the web, the ability to hide an attendee list. So if you want to publish an event, but you don't want to make it clear who's actually on the attendee list, then we can actually hide the attendee list now from attendees. It's similar to BCCing someone in an email. But if we're doing kind of all company sessions or webinars and things like that, and we don't want to show who the attendees are. Password protected links, we've covered this a couple of times, so users are able to set a custom password when sharing a link to make sure only people that know the password can open it. I think we can all guess what that password is going to be 90% of the time. New files experience in Outlook for iOS, that was rolling out before, that is now fully rolled out. I might start demoing some of these as we go on. I don't have any set up for today, but going forward I might start demoing some of these that have been launched. Microsoft Defender has been released for Mac OS. I didn't realise until I saw this item. But I really like Microsoft Defender on my Windows PC. It's the only virus checker I use from Malwarebytes, of course. But it'd be nice to actually run that down onto my Apple Mac as well. Look forward to trying that one out. Office 365 groups, there's some updates to the welcome emails to guests. So when we bring guests into our group, then the welcome emails get an update. So it will actually show the organisation's privacy policy. That's quite useful. Outlook on the web, receive the emails you send to a group in your inbox. So at the moment, if we email a Office 365 group, the members of that group don't get a copy of the email into their own inbox. They just see it in the group inbox. But now there's the ability for users to opt to have those emails delivered to their own inbox as well. So you can keep more up to date on your group activity. Outlook calendar, increased transport limit for meeting updates. So some work's gone on before to prevent meetings sent to hundreds of users from hitting the maximum recipients of 500. So there's some changes there for those limits. That is everything that has launched over the last 2 weeks. A few nice items in there. Let's have a look at the items that are currently rolling out. There might be more items rolling out than we say here. These are just the items that have entered this category in the last 2 weeks. So we may have covered some items 2 weeks ago that are still in the rolling out phase, but this is just the new items. We do this just to keep the time down a little bit. So if you watch this every other week, then you should be familiar with everything that's currently going on. So Microsoft Bookings is getting the ability to, so Bookings is integrating with Teams and Skype meeting capabilities, so we can set up services with online meeting enabled. Okay, so Office ATP, the automated investigation and response feature, that's going to be exposing investigation data through the Management Activity API. The ability to select a product or service when creating a service request in the new M365 Admin Center. So when you create a support ticket with Microsoft, we'll be able to actually select the product or service that's affected. That's going to be useful because it just means that we can get directed to a more appropriate first-line support person to resolve those issues. I love Microsoft support, as everybody knows. Next one. Recommendation to reuse historical forms, and we've covered this in the past. So when a user starts to type into the form's title field, forms will recommend questions based on the user's historical form. So if you repeat similar forms over and over, if you create a form to maybe do a DSE check or a fire check or something like that, and you've created those in the past, then forms will start to recommend questions based on similar forms you've created previously. Automatic phishing detection for enterprise in-org forms, so just making sure there's detected from phishing activities there. Microsoft Teams is getting some cloud voicemail enhancements. Outlook for Windows is getting support for native sensitivity labeling. Outlook for Android is starting to get dark mode. Outlook for iOS is starting to get dark mode. I figure everyone's familiar with what dark mode is by now. Obviously, I mentioned it before. Outlook for Windows getting support for Black Office theme, aka dark mode. Direct links to individual PowerPoint slide on the web. This is quite useful actually. Sometimes we want to refer someone just to a slide in the PowerPoint deck, but not necessarily the whole deck. Otherwise we'll link, go to this deck and then find slide 232 and there's the information you want. But actually on PowerPoint web experience now we can actually generate a link directly to a slide within a particular deck. It's going to be useful. So we should start to see that soon. Audio conferencing via direct routing for GCC High and GCC DoD. Add a call to action link on a Hero web part. So if we're in the modern page experience, you go onto the Hero web part, and then we can actually add a hyperlink into the title area and also a call to action link. Priority field for planner tasks. So when you create a planner task, we're going to get a priority option now of low, medium, important, urgent. OneDrive for Business is getting support for files on demand for Server 2019. Cloud voicemail is getting some enhancements in Microsoft Teams. Security Policy Advisor is now available. A lot of information on that. SharePoint organizational news, audience targeting. So if you're using modern news sites and organizational news, then we can do some more intelligent audience targeting. Outlook on the web is getting the option to cancel events from date forward. This is useful. Sometimes if we create a recurring series, sometimes we want to stop it. We don't actually want to necessarily delete the whole history of that recurring series. So in fact, what we can now is just say, do not cancel all dates beyond a particular date. Outlook for Windows manage events with large audiences, similar to what we've just spoken about. Outlook for Windows, Microsoft relevant search results on top. So Outlook's getting enhanced search experience. I think we've had a couple of items for this. Outlook for Windows suggested people in search. Again, more enhancements to Outlook search. Per site, anyone link expiration policy. We've seen this previously on previous weeks. But tenant admins can now set a custom anyone link expiration policy site collection that differs from the default tenant policy. So if we send an anyone link out, we can say, do you know what, that expires in 15 days as opposed to the tenant policy of 30 days maybe. Outlook on the web, see your tasks and calendar in your inbox. Again, just trying to consolidate the views in Outlook on the web a little bit to make it easier to see everything that's going on without having to navigate between applications or panes. Outlook on the web is getting compatibility with new third-party storage providers, so things like Google Drive, Facebook, etc. Microsoft is realizing and accepting that people aren't necessarily 100% Microsoft stack, and sometimes different IT for providers for different things. That's useful. Brave new world. Outlook on the web, the new experience which has been in beta and preview for a while, which I really like actually. That's now gone GA. So what we'll find is new users coming into Outlook on the web. The new experience will become the default experience, and the opt-in toggle will go, and that would just be the new default view. Microsoft Teams getting the ability for a secondary ringer, and it's useful if people use headsets maybe. So actually it can be set to ring in the headset and also into the physical device maybe. Useful. Manual sensitivity labeling in Word, PowerPoint, Excel and Outlook for Windows. So if people are using information protection labels, then this is quite useful to make it easier for users to access. Same for email in Outlook on Windows. Right, so that's everything, well not everything, but that's all the new items that you should start seeing coming into your environments over the next 3 months. So you may see some of them already, or you may be on a slightly longer release ring. You'll see them coming in. So some nice features there. Good to see that all that progress going on. A bit of diversity across the board, and not too much focus on one particular area. Okay, so we're going to move into the in development. So these are the items that Microsoft has started working on over the last 2 weeks, and things that we should see a bit longer. So there's no known release time period for these, but at some point these will go into preview mode, sit there for a little while, then they'll go to rolling out, and then they'll be launched. So it's a little bit longer term view of what's going on. However, we have something here that I think has just been launched per site anyone link expiration policy. That looks like a small issue in the roadmap because I believe that's either rolling out now. Duplicate there. So an updated feature, reset password in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. This is now changing, so it supports a 256 character maximum password length. Wow, I want to know who is using a 256 character password. I mean, I know I use long passwords now because I use 1Password to manage all mine, so I actually don't know most of my passwords anymore. But wow, 256, that's strong. Unless we just repeat the word password 100 times. Password, isn't it? Okay, create users with templates in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I think this is going to be really, really useful. I love the idea of this. Sometimes we have users in different locations that maybe have an office address set or a location or certain properties or departments. So we can actually template a user, I don't want to say user profile, but we can template user data and then use that those templates when we create new users. That should make it a lot easier to create users and not have manual mistakes data. Microsoft Teams is getting a Meet Now capability. Apparently, not all meetings can be scheduled in advance. Some happen spontaneously. Way to go. So Meet Now, that's something I've been missing. That frustrates me and has done for a while. So ability to do a Meet Now is going to be really, really handy. Microsoft Whiteboard web app is going to general availability. So that's in development. That's coming soon to Office of the Web. That's really cool if anyone's tried it. Yammer will use Office profiles, so again a bit more tighter integration from Yammer to the rest of Office 365. That's going to be great, so we don't have to maintain multiple profiles anymore. Outlook for Windows, support for native sensitivity labeling. Planner is coming to Office 365 and Microsoft 365 F1 plans. Multi-team support in Shifts. This will be really useful for a lot of people. So those people who are using Shifts in Microsoft Teams for their first-line workers, often frontline workers can be part of more than one team. So now they can have see all of their team shifts in one view if they're on different teams. That's going to be really useful to a lot of people. Outlook for Android. Apparently, they're working on the ability to schedule events and meetings with co-workers in a different time zone. I didn't realize you couldn't do that. So I think this is a slightly strange description. I assume it's going to normalize time zones across meetings, because I'm pretty sure I can already organize a meeting with a co-worker who's in a different. So Outlook for Android, yeah. Same for Outlook for iOS. Outlook for Windows, advanced room finder with filters. So again, if we're looking for a room finder, Microsoft put some machine learning behind this, so it's easier to find a suitable meeting room for meetings. I'm quite excited about this one. SharePoint, the ability to create lists from lists or lists from Excel. If anyone's been following me on Twitter recently, I've been having a major issue just trying to release some Power Apps out and get users to easily provision lists into their SharePoint tenant. So there's a lot of methods here. So creating it using Flow. I can't do that because I can't connect it to my Power App and then release it as a solution. I'm going to go on a rant now, I do apologise. People suggested using PowerShell. Great, but not all users can run PowerShell or want to use PowerShell. Maybe if they're a business user, not an admin. They may not have admin access to the laptops to set the execution policy, so that's a barrier. People said, hey, use site designs in modern. Okay, great, but still need to use PowerShell or deploy a SharePoint framework app. It's just too hard. So in the end, what we've done, we've actually reverted back to using old-fashioned STP templates, right? Unless you're on a modern theme site, then they don't work. So I'm excited about this because we'll have the ability to create lists from lists, lists from Excel, or lists from templates. So hopefully this is giving us a new list template capability. So I'm going to follow this one closely myself, and that is my rant over. Really been enough. Now it's over. Okay, Microsoft Teams is getting enhancements to cloud voicemail. Planner is coming to Office 365 Government F1 plans. Microsoft Team, read receipts for private chats. This is useful. I use this quite a lot if you're in WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, things like that. It's useful to know who's actually seen your messages, so you know whether it's been read and ignored or just not been seen yet. So Microsoft Teams is getting the ability to see who's actually read messages. That's going to be very useful. Last but not least, not too bad, only 35 minutes today, so we're doing pretty well on time. So last but not least, manage sharing and access request settings from the site permissions panel. So when you go into SharePoint and OneDrive for Business, if you go into the site permissions panel, then we can actually manage the access requests from there rather than having to go into another screen. That's going to be useful, again, to just condense that view down for site owners to make their life a little bit easier. So that is everything that has been going on and will be going on for the last 2 weeks and over the coming months. So I hope that is useful for people. I'll just try and switch back to me. There we go. So that's useful for everybody. And my lovely Flow bottle. Unfortunately, I didn't see any Flow news, so no major changes to Flow. Actually, just be aware of the Office 365 connector is getting a major overhaul. So if you're currently using that, bear in mind most of your actions are going to be deprecated, so you want to switch it over. We did cover that last time, but I thought it was worth reiterating now as well. But I haven't seen any major updates there, so hopefully next time we can get some Flow news in there as well. But that's everything for this week, so I hope that's useful for you. I'm actually going to be on holiday, or vacation if you're in America, in 2 weeks' time. So the next one is going to be on the Monday as opposed to the Monday after as opposed to the Friday. So I think that'll be the 26th. 26th I think will be on. So it'll be delayed by a day, so don't worry. Back and nice and tanned and catch you up on what's been going on while I've been away. So I hope that's useful for you. Please do go and check out our Power App on the RedPlane website, www.redplane.co.uk. I'd really appreciate any feedback. I've got a lot more Power Apps coming along behind that as well. So if we can get the platform right, the e-commerce store right, and if we get the deployment processes right, which unfortunately isn't that pretty. I do appreciate feedback. It's free at the moment and will be for the next few days before it starts going up at £10. So please download it, please take a look, and please send me feedback on what you think of it and what you think of the experience, so we can make sure ones coming out in the future are easy to use. All right, thank you very much, and I hope you all have a nice weekend.